In a crowded high school hallway, bullies grab a black girl's full hair, thinking they can break her in front of everyone. What she does next will leave you stunned, inspired, and cheering for her unstoppable courage. This gripping script, packed with shocking twists and raw emotion, will keep you hooked until the very end. Subscribe now to dive into this powerful story of resilience and join our community of readers who love epic tales that challenge the odds and celebrate triumph. The fluorescent lights of Ridgeway High's hallway flickered, casting a sterile glow over the chaos of students rushing between classes. Naomi Brooks, a 16-year-old junior, navigated the crowded corridor with her chemistry textbook. Pressed against her chest, her denim jacket slightly frayed at the cuffs but worn with pride. Her tightly coiled hair bounced with each step, and her deep mahogany skin stood out in a sea of faces, some of whom whispered as she passed. Naomi was used to the stares. She'd been the new girl at the Chicago suburban school since her family moved here 2 years ago, and she'd learned to carry herself with a quiet confidence that her grandmother, a civil rights activist who'd marched in Selma, had instilled in her. "Never let them dim your light," Grandma Lillian would say, her voice a steady anchor in Naomi's mind. Today, though, that light was about to be tested. Naomi was halfway to her locker when she felt a sharp tug at her full hair, yanking her backward. Her book slipped from her arms, hitting the floor with a dull thud that echoed in the suddenly quiet hallway. Laughter erupted, sharp and cruel, as Naomi spun around to face her tormentors. Brianna Caldwell, the undisputed queen bee of Ridgeway, stood there, her manicured fingers still gripping Naomi's jacket. Brianna's blonde hair was perfectly styled, her designer outfit a stark contrast to Naomi's thrift store finds. Flanking her were Derek, a hulking football player with a smirk that matched his arrogance, and Lila, a petite girl whose loyalty to Brianna was matched only by her vicious tongue. "What's the rush, Naomi?" Brianna sneered, her voice dripping with mockery. "Trying to get to the library to read about what? Black history again?" The crowd around them snickered, phones already out, capturing every second of Naomi's humiliation. Naomi's heart pounded, her pulse a drumbeat in her ears. She'd endured Brianna's taunts before, snide comments about her hair, her clothes, her attitude. But this was different. This was physical, public, and deeply personal. The hallway seemed to shrink, the faces of her classmates blurring into a sea of curiosity and cruelty. Naomi's eyes locked onto Brianna's, and something inside her snapped, not in fear, but in defiance. She didn't pull away. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice low but steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Let go of my hair, Brianna. Now." The crowd gasped, the air thick with anticipation. Brianna's smirk faltered, but she tightened her grip, leaning in. "Or what? You gonna cry about it?" What happened next would become legend at Ridgeway High. Naomi didn't cry. She didn't scream. Instead, she reached up, grabbed Brianna's wrist, and twisted it with a precision honed from years of self-defense classes her father had insisted she take after a string of neighborhood incidents. Brianna yelped, stumbling back, her minions too stunned to react. Naomi bent down, picked up her books, and faced the crowd, her voice ringing out, clear and unshaken. "Anyone else want to try me today?" The hallway was deathly quiet, phones still recording but now capturing something unexpected, Naomi's unyielding strength. The moment was a spark, igniting a chain of events that would unravel secrets, forge unlikely alliances, and expose the dark underbelly of Ridgeway High's social hierarchy. By lunchtime, the video of Naomi's defiance had spread like wildfire across social media, racking up thousands of views on platforms like TikTok and Instagram. Hashtags like #NaomiFightsBack and #RidgewayDrama trended locally, with some calling her a hero and others labeling her a troublemaker. Naomi sat alone in the cafeteria, her tray of lukewarm pizza untouched, scrolling through the comments on her phone. "Queen," one user wrote. "She's just looking for attention," another sneered. Naomi's stomach churned, but she refused to let the negativity sink in. She'd faced worse. Growing up in a neighborhood where gunshots sometimes punctuated the night, she'd learned to keep her head down and her dreams big. Her goal was to become a civil rights lawyer, to fight for people like her grandmother, who'd faced fire hoses and police dogs for the right to be seen as equal. This hallway incident, it was just a bump in the road. The school administration, however, saw it differently. By second period, Naomi was summoned to Principal Harrington's office. Harrington, a weary man in his 50s with thinning gray hair, sat behind his desk, the infamous video playing on his computer. "Naomi, you know we have a zero-tolerance policy for physical altercations," he said, rubbing his temples. Naomi sat across from him, her posture straight, her expression unapologetic. "She grabbed me first, sir. I was defending myself." Harrington sighed, his eyes flickering to a framed photo of his own daughter, a Ridgeway alum. He knew Brianna's reputation. Her parents were wealthy donors who funded the school's new gym, and their influence hung over every decision. Naomi, on the other hand, was a scholarship student, her family scraping by in a rented apartment on the edge of town. "I understand, Naomi," Harrington said, his voice softer, "but we have to follow protocol. You'll serve a week of detention. Brianna will receive a warning." Naomi's jaw tightened, but she nodded. The injustice stung, but she'd expected it. Brianna's warning was a slap on the wrist, a reminder of the double standards that permeated Ridgeway High. As Naomi left the office, she passed Brianna in the hallway, who flashed a triumphant smirk. "See you around, Naomi," she taunted, her voice laced with venom. Naomi didn't respond, but her mind was racing. She wasn't going to let Brianna win. Not this time. Detention was held in a stuffy classroom overseen by Ms. Carter, a no-nonsense English teacher who spent most of the hour grading papers. Naomi took a seat in the back, her notebook open, but her mind elsewhere. That's when she noticed Malik Johnson, a quiet senior, slouched in a corner desk, his hoodie pulled low over his eyes. Malik was an enigma at Ridgeway High, known for his coding skills and his love of anime. He'd been targeted by Brianna's crew for years. He glanced at Naomi, giving her a nod of respect. "Saw the video," he said, his voice low. "You didn't back down. That's rare around here." Naomi shrugged, but a small smile tugged at her lips. "Didn't have much choice." Over the next few days, Naomi and Malik bonded in detention. He shared stories of his own run-ins with Brianna, how she'd mocked his anime obsession, spread rumors about his family, even gotten her friends to trash his science fair project last year. Naomi opened up about her dreams of becoming a lawyer, her grandmother's stories of the civil rights movement, and the weight of being one of the few black students at Ridgeway High. Malik listened, his dark eyes thoughtful. Then one afternoon, he leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm working on something, an app. It's for kids like us, ones who get pushed around and don't have a voice. You in?" Naomi's curiosity piqued. "What kind of app?" Malik grinned, pulling out his laptop. "It's called Speak Out, anonymous, secure, and it's going to shake things up." This was the first major twist in Naomi's journey. Speak Out was Malik's brainchild, a platform where students could submit anonymous stories of bullying, which his algorithm would verify for patterns before posting publicly. The goal was to expose the toxic culture at Ridgeway High without putting anyone at risk. Naomi didn't hesitate. "I'm in," she said, her voice firm. Over the next few weeks, they worked in secret. Naomi wrote powerful captions for the app, while Malik coded the back end. They met in the library after hours, their laptops glowing in the dim light, their voices hushed but urgent. Naomi collected stories from other students, the quiet kids, nerds, outcasts who'd been humiliated by Brianna and her crew. There was Jamal, a freshman whose glasses were broken in a prank. Emily, a shy girl whose diary was read aloud in the cafeteria. And Carlos, a soccer player who'd been mocked for his accent. Each story fueled Naomi's resolve, and Speak Out began to take shape. The app launched quietly, but its impact was immediate. By the end of the first week, dozens of stories poured in, each one verified by Malik's algorithm to ensure authenticity. Naomi's captions were raw and powerful, calling out the culture of cruelty without naming names. "This school protects the powerful and silences the rest," one post read. "It's time to speak out." The posts went viral, shared across social media by students, parents, even local news outlets. Whispers of Speak Out echoed through Ridgeway High, and for the first time, victims of bullying felt seen. Naomi and Malik watched the app's analytics skyrocket, their hearts pounding with a mix of excitement and fear. They'd started something big, bigger than they'd ever imagined. But success came with a cost. Brianna, furious at the app's growing popularity, suspected Naomi's involvement. She and her minions launched a vicious campaign to discredit Naomi, spreading rumors that she was a liar who'd faked the hallway incident for attention. They posted doctored screenshots online, claiming Naomi was bullying others. The rumors hit hard, especially when Naomi's younger sister Maya came home crying after hearing them at her middle school. Naomi hugged her sister, her resolve hardening. "They're scared, Maya," she said. Scared people lash out. At home, Naomi's parents were supportive but worried. Her father, a mechanic who worked long hours, urged her to be careful. "You're poking a bear, Naomi," he said, his voice heavy. Her mother, a nurse, added, "Just make sure you're fighting for something worth it." The second twist came unexpectedly. One rainy afternoon, as Naomi left the library, she was approached by Sophie, Brianna's childhood friend and a reluctant member of her clique. Sophie's blonde hair was damp, her eyes red from crying. "Can we talk?" she whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. They ducked into an empty classroom, where Sophie's words came out in a rush. "I'm done with Brianna. She's not who everyone thinks she is." Sophie revealed a bombshell. Brianna's perfect life was a facade. Her father was facing legal trouble for embezzlement. Her parents were on the brink of divorce, and Brianna's bullying was her way of maintaining control in a world falling apart. "She's mean because she's hurting," Sophie said, her voice breaking. "But that doesn't make it okay." Naomi was stunned. She'd seen Brianna as a one-dimensional villain, but Sophie's revelation painted a more complex picture. It didn't excuse Brianna's actions, but it humanized her. Naomi faced a moral dilemma: use Sophie's information to take Brianna down for good, or protect Sophie's trust and focus on the bigger fight. After a sleepless night, Naomi chose the latter. "You're doing the right thing," she told Sophie. "Help us make this school better." Sophie nodded, tears in her eyes, and joined the Speak Out team. The trio, Naomi, Malik, and Sophie, became an unstoppable force, uncovering a deeper scandal. The school administration had been ignoring bullying complaints to protect the reputations of wealthy students like Brianna. Speak Out's data revealed a pattern of negligence, with dozens of complaints buried or dismissed. The third twist came when Malik hacked into an old school server, ethically questionable, but necessary, he argued, and found emails between Harrington and Brianna's parents. The emails showed they'd pressured him to downplay incidents involving their daughter, even offering donations to smooth things over. Naomi's blood boiled as she read the evidence, but she also felt a pang of sympathy. For Harrington, a man caught between his principles and the politics of power, the team decided to go big. They'd present their findings at the school's annual assembly, a mandatory event attended by students, parents, and local media. It was a risky move, but Naomi was done playing small. The weeks leading up to the assembly were a whirlwind. Naomi, Malik, and Sophie worked around the clock, refining their presentation and gathering more stories. Naomi's grandmother, now frail but fierce, became their biggest cheerleader. "You're fighting for justice, baby," she said, her hands trembling as she squeezed Naomi's. "Don't stop." Naomi drew strength from her grandmother's words, but the pressure was immense. Brianna's campaign against her intensified, with fake social media accounts spreading lies about Naomi's family. One night, Naomi found her locker vandalized with slurs, the paint still wet. She stood there, fists clenched, refusing to cry. Malik found her and helped her clean it up, their silence a bond stronger than words. The day of the assembly arrived, a crisp spring morning that felt heavy with possibility. The auditorium was packed, the air buzzing with anticipation. Brianna sat in the front row, her expression a mix of fear and defiance. Naomi took the stage, her heart pounding but her voice steady. She began with her own story, the hallway incident, the detention, the rumors. Then she shared the stories from Speak Out, each one a dagger to the heart of Ridgeway High's complacency. She revealed the administration's negligence, projecting the emails on a screen for all to see. The crowd was silent at first, then erupted in gasps and murmurs. Parents whispered angrily, students shifted uncomfortably, and the local news crew zoomed in on Naomi's face. "This school can be better," she said, her voice ringing out, "but only if we stop protecting the powerful and start listening to the silence." The applause started slowly, then grew into a roar. Even some of Brianna's minions clapped, their loyalty shaken. Harrington sat in the back, his face pale, but the biggest twist came after the assembly. As Naomi stepped off the stage, Brianna approached her, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how to stop." Naomi was speechless. She'd expected anger, not vulnerability. She didn't forgive Brianna, not yet. But she saw something in her eyes that hinted at redemption. "Get help," Naomi said softly, "and mean it." The fallout was seismic. Harrington resigned the following week, citing personal reasons. An investigation into the school's practices led to new anti-bullying policies and mandatory training for staff. Speak Out became a national model, with Naomi and Malik invited to speak at conferences across the country. Sophie found her own voice, breaking free from Brianna's shadow and starting a peer mentorship program. Brianna, to her credit, began therapy, grappling with her own demons. Naomi, now a senior, continued her journey toward becoming a lawyer, her resolve stronger than ever. The hallway incident, once a moment of humiliation, became the spark that ignited a revolution. Naomi's story spread beyond Ridgeway High, inspiring students in other schools to speak out. Her grandmother, who lived to see the assembly, passed away that summer, but not before telling Naomi she was proud. "You're my legacy," she said, her voice weak but warm. Naomi carried those words with her, a reminder that courage could change everything.